Buddy, Vilisink back again with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Welcome to 2022. If you did not catch the previous video, I wish you a happy new year all over again. And we're going to jump straight into the content with this one. We are talking about probably first, this has to be the faction first or second on my favorites list. It was the faction that gave me my very first legendary. It was the faction that gave me multiple legendaries. If you followed the channel, you will know what my first legendary champion was. It is from Undead Hordes. It was Nethril. So what we're going to do is, we're going to look at all the legendaries, quickly cover them. I'm going to do the epics, look through this whole faction. This is the faction. Apart from uncommon commons, like a lot of these rares are pretty good. Some of the epics, Top Notch, Gargrab Seeker, Counselor, Darkelhain, Hust, Lich even has uses as well. Hexia, Corpse Collector has some uses, Mosley and Mage, OG. We go up to the top, you've got Sifi, Necret, Badel, Urost, Rotos, Mishal, just a plethora of badass champions. And we're going to jump straight into it with Crypt King Graal, who used to be really terrible until he got changed. But now he has a decreased attack debuff for 2 turns at 60%. And also has a 100% chance instead if the target is under a HP burn or a freeze debuff. So the decreased attack is always good for an A1. AoB, chance to place HP burn, which goes to a 3 turn cooldown, which works very well with his A1 because of that little conditional part, which raises it to 100% chance if they are under a certain debuff. So we get the HP burn on the A2. And we complete that with Elemental Unity, again helping the A1. All of his kit kind of now works together. AoB places a freeze debuff on each target for 1 turn if they're under HP burn debuffs. Also extends the duration of any HP burn debuffs to 3 turns which you cannot resist. So you can remember the A2, you place the HP burn, you then do the A3 to ensure you increase the duration to 3 turns while placing a freeze, and then after that you can do the A1. I've seen Crypt King Graal in Spider teams that can do Spider 25 in 12 seconds. It's absolutely insane. And his aura is increases ally HP in all battles 33%. Nothing special, but overall he was a really kind of boring champ, but now he's really good. Rotos, the attack, legendary, Undead Hordes, badass. Dude, I got this guy so early. Terror Scourge, attacks one enemy, 75% chance to place decreased defense, which actually for me lands a lot. Also has a chance of getting an extra turn. Damage based to attack and HP. I basically just gave mine all attack, but this hits incredibly hard. I have seen 6 figures from it easy. Vitality Plunder decreases the target's max HP by 20%, and he adds that HP to himself. You can't decrease a single champion's max HP by more than 60% in a battle. You cannot increase his HP by more than 60,000. Doesn't work on bosses, and this champion's max HP will be increased by 15,000 when the skill is used against bosses. So it's a little bit lower, but it's still fine. In arena, anywhere you realistically use this, you're going to be taking a chunk of HP from people. Now, Fated Destruction kind of got nerfed a little bit, but it's only for arena. But if you use it elsewhere, Doom Tower dungeons, in the factions, it really makes no difference. And it attacks one enemy, ignores 60% target's defense, also ignores unkillable and block damage, so Skull Crowns, your Leorius, all that BS is gone because he ignores it and he puts you to the ground. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived if this champion has gained the maximum amount of HP. So basically it needs to gain 60,000 HP, and then it will activate the block revive for that. But realistically, you don't need it. He's still a badass champion without it. He still hits over 200k. You can work in Clan Boss. You can work anywhere you want him to. Spurn Oblivion, fantastic passive, will increase damage from enemy hits decrease damage from enemy hits so that incoming damage from any single hit will not exceed 50% of Rotos's HP. And he gets an extra turn if this damage reduction occurs. So basically, you cannot one-shot him. He can't, nothing with one shot can kill him. You'll trigger the passive, you'll attack you back, you might proc an extra turn, he'll hit you again. You can basically set him off and he's just like a machine gun. If he's with Sifi, she will revive him, she will cleanse him. Decreases the target damage taken from bosses by 15%, decreases the damage taken by bosses by 30%. So Sifi looks after him, cleanses him, gives him a heal, and it takes less damage from bosses if they're on the same team. Man, I wish I had a Sifi. Saito, based on, cannot remember the guy's name, a raid streamer or a streamer. Saito has unbeatable assault, attacks one enemy twice, 50% chance, goes to 60. It's decreased to 30 but for 2 turns after the first hit. Plus there's an extra hit if the decreased defense buff is placed. Attacks one enemy before attacking, places attack up and increases his crit damage by 30% for 2 turns if the champion's defense is higher than the target defense. Decreases the cooldown of the skill by 1 turn if the target has more than 50% HP after the attack. So that's quite cool. Army Breaker attacks one enemy and attacks all enemies except the initial target. So you can hit a boss, or hit Minotaur, then you'll hit the adds after that. Like in a wave, it's just as good. Inflicts 20% more damage on the first hit if the target has higher max HP. So he does a lot of damage, basically anywhere. Lowers 7.5% of the defense for each time this champion attacks the same target. Enemy in consecutive attacks or turns can start to 30%. So if you're ignoring 30% of somebody's defense, you're maybe ignoring a shitload of defense. The stack will be lost and reset if this champion targets and attacks someone else. So for the first 4 hits, you just keep attacking the same person to build up that 30%. If you attack someone else, you will lose it. It will be game over. It's quite, and that's it. It does have increased attack in dungeons by 30%, which is a fantastic dungeons aura. Gaius is up next, the specialist that everybody loves to hate, but secretly has probably used him. I used him in Faction War for a little bit. A1, block active skills for a turn. Charge increases by 0.75% for every 1% HP this champion loses, so you don't use him for that. He attacks a single enemy, puts his skills on cooldown. Now what you use him for is, if there's duplicates of that target, pardon me, he also puts their skills on cooldown. So when you get to Faction Wars and you get that really annoying Valkyrie wave, you take him in, you hit one Valk, put her skills on cooldown, he puts the rest of the Valk's skills on cooldown, and that's what you use him for. That's why Gaius is a specialist. He may not get as much use as other champions, but he does have a purpose. Course range AoE can go to 100% chance to remove 2 random buffs, 100% chance of decreasing all enemies' turn meters by 20%, decreases enemy turn meters by a further 0.2, so it loses more HP, it reduces his turn meter more. But effectively, you can remove up to 2 buffs and decrease your turn meter, which is not really that shabby. I have seen it being used in Arena. Not a huge amount, but I have seen it work. His passive will prevent his death and give him 1 HP when he's hit with a fatal hit. If this skill prevents the champion's death, heals them by 10% of their max HP, fills turn meter, and gives them a shield for 30%. So they get basically 40% HP back and 20% turn meter. They got a shield. So this passive is really, really, really good. It works on Eligaius and also works on this Choppy's Death 1P. So events to oh, okay. I was going to say it works on other people, but no, it just works on him. It keeps him alive, which when it comes to faction mods, if you did the fusion so long ago, you know how important that can be. Scartorsus, OG man, OG. We're going old school with this one. Hand of Doom, AoB, 30% chance, goes to 50 to steal a random buff, which is quite decent. AoB means you can put him in a stun set, building for damage. He does quite well. He will buff his attack and his crit rate as well as everybody else's for 2 turns, meaning you can build people with 70% crit rate, focus that other stats a little bit more. He will put you to 100%, and it's really, really good. It's underused, but it's really good. This is a heals all allies. So basically, he'll give you a heal, he will cleanse you, and the amount of by which each ally is healed increases according to the number of debuffs on them. So if you were debuffed to hell, you will get a bigger heal. The amount of by which allies' turn meter is filled increases according to the number of debuffs on them. So you get more turn meter, but more debuffs. Scartorsus, man, I pulled him a long time ago. And to steal the shield, for instance, if you go to the magic keep when he steals the shield that the boss gives herself, man, it fills his bar. It's ridiculous. He's OG. He doesn't get that much use nowadays because other people buff attack, other people can buff crit rate and do other things. But Scartorsus was, I believe he's got a good speed aura as well. Scartorsus was here long before all of them were. And 23% ally speed in dungeons, 33%. Come on now. Ally speed in dungeons, 33%. Take him in dungeons, build a few you don't really have to build them to 70%. They can just be below 100. He will make sure that they get crit capped, enables them to do more damage, buffs their attack, gives them a heal, a cleanse. Fantastic champion. Bad Alcazar. Everybody knows Beck, the BEK killer. AoB heals his champion and all allies by 20% of damage inflicted, which can heal by quite a bit. He cleanses everybody, gives him 2 continuous heal buffs, and places 2 poisons on the enemies for 2 turns. Basically, this champion used to be worse than Urigrim, then they nerfed Urigrim to make Badal better again. Passive, allies inflict 20% more damage against targets under poison. So if you have a poisoner like Urigrim, for instance, it actually could work because you just need to get Urigrim to go first. And with Badal's passive in the same team, everybody can do a hell of a lot more damage. You will increase your ally crit rate in all battles with 25%. Again, you can build people to 70%. You get 5% with that mastery. So with Scartorsus, realistically, you can build champions to 65% crit rate. Which means you only need 50% because you get a base of 15 also. So it is quite nice. They're OG champions, but they still have a lot of use in this game. Bloodgorged, a champion that I've had for a while. I'm actually excited to try and build him at some point. I just need to decide which set I will put on him. Because I'm debating a Shadowkin as my next 6-star champion, but I'm not sure yet. Break defense, so basically just decrease defense, debuff for 2 turns. It's a double hitter, so I mean, he potentially, if you need him for a Fire Knight, he has 2 hits. It's decent. This move here won't help him Fire Knight, but it helps everywhere else and helps on waves. AoB puts one of each target's skills on cooldown, put them in a stun set. You stun them, you can put one of their skills on cooldown. They lose their turn, your team goes, etc, etc. And attacks one enemy will ignore defense, which means he will ignore all of the defense. And enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived, so you build them with damage, He will put people to sleep. Or if you have him, I mean, because you're going to build him with damage, you're going to try to get him in Savage, even though you don't really need to because you ignore all defense. You just need to make sure he hits respectively hard so he can block revive people, good for Fire Knight, good for anywhere. Anywhere that there's going to be annoying champions. And revivers, you can effectively, unlike Lydia for instance, who her passive is on a cooldown, if Blood Gorge kills someone, for the rest of the fight they're gone. Nethril, my very first Lego champion. I love this dude. He's so good. One of the best CC'ers in the game. Tell me that he ain't and I'll argue with you. 3 hitter on the A1, apply poison, so great everywhere. Doesn't matter where you take him, it works. AoB, 50% chance to place a stun. If he does not place a stun, he places decreased speed. So he's causing people to lose their turns with a stun, or he's slowing them down with the debuff they get instead if the stun is not landed, which either way is still CCing people. You're either stopping them taking a turn or you're going to slow them down. And yeah, I've used Nethril everywhere. Arena, dungeons, the faction, Doom Tower. I used them in Clan Boss for so long. I have so many videos of Nethril having over 3k defense just doing like 15 million damage to the Clan Boss. It is ridiculous. Although Bat Swarm, AoE decreases the turn meter by 75%. 4 turn cooldown. Yes, 75%. Put him into Arena, he will decrease everybody's turn meter. Just give him the accuracy to land it. I mean, again, it helps everywhere. Who doesn't? Who wouldn't be? Who would it not help to reduce turn meter by 75%? I'm trying to think who else has an AoE reduced turn meter by 75%. I'm just trying to think who it is. And also with Nethril now, because they changed his AI, he will only A1 on the clan boss. So therefore you don't have to worry about him. He will just be filling that debuff bar all day, all night. Nethril, one of the best in the game, absolutely. Suzerain, I mean, he kind of has mixed reviews. AoB decreased speed. The decreased speed potentially could be quite nice. AoB again, 50% chance to place weaken, and if he doesn't place the weaken, he places decreased defense, which is kind of weird. Why not just make him a decreased defense and weaken champion? You know what I mean? And he removes shield, block damage, and unkillable buffs from all enemies and attacks them. So he could potentially be good in arena. He potentially could have some use in dungeons, but I don't know. You don't need for this particular move. You don't need accuracy. I just don't know if there's a lot of people that are using Suzerain Catan nowadays. I'm just not too sure. You don't really see him. I mean, years ago, you would have probably used him for arena. I have seen people do resets, early attack and battles, 33%. It's all battles. So his aura's pretty good, but I just don't see people using him that much. I really don't. Harvest Jack is a champion that I could have used, but I was new to the game. I got into the game a few fusions before, but I mean, with everything that the game throws at you, it takes a while to pick stuff up. And fusions back then were just like, whoa, look at this. And he has a triple hit on the A1, chance of stealing a random buff. Also has a chance of placing a fear. The chance increases to 100% if all buffs were stolen from the target. And that is that he can place a fear debuff for 1 turn if there's no active buffs. It's decent. My clan leader has him. He built Harvest Jack with a shitload of accuracy. And if you put him with like Kimmy, they can just destroy people. He has AoB block buffs for 2 turns on targets under fear. Removes any attack up buffs from the target. And then he gives them a decreased attack. If they have continuous heal, he puts in a poison. The number of poison debuffs is equal to the number of continuous heal buffs removed. So if he has 2 continuous heal buffs, he will get 2 poisons. Whereas if you have, for instance, Bardell or Uragrim putting up their A3s, then that gets stripped and it just poisons get replaced. I like the fact he actually takes increase attack and gives you decrease attack, because that'll mess up a lot of people. If you can like cut your way into a team by removing that increase attack from a nuker, damage dealer, give them decrease attack, you're effectively saving your team from dying. That actually could be like extremely good. Lord of Terror, this can be annoying as hell. AoE, 100% chance, 4 turn cooldown, True Fear for a turn, decrease speed for 2 turns, and decreases each target's turn meter by 15% if the True Fear is placed. So you get True Feared, then you get decreased speed, then you get your turn meter reduced. It's bloody annoying. 75% chance, 100, while placing a sleep if the True Fear is not placed. So as a backup, you will get a sleep which will contain the enemy. Either way, Harvest Jack is a fantastic kit. He's really good. He can do damage, but he's mainly used as a CC champion. You build him with really high HP. And when he's attacked, he decreases the duration of all buffs on the attacker by a turn, which could be quite nice. Reduces the duration of their increased attack, increased crit rate, increased speed, block buffs, or whatever it is, unkillable. You name it. Sifi. Man, I would love a Sifi. Have not got one yet. I have Rotos, and he desperately wants Sifi. So Sifi, if you're listening, Rotos is waiting for you, girl. Rotos is waiting for you. Come on now. A1 sleep goes to 100% chance, and it's quite vital. You see Sifi in basically 90% of the arena reset teams. I wish I had her just for Dungeons Doom Tower, just because she is that strong. Sleep on the A1. Target turn meter is equal to 50%. This debuff cannot be resisted. I love it. Heals all allies by 5% of their max HP if the target's turn meter is below 50%. The block buffs, fantastic for 2 turns. Fills the turn meters of all allies by 10%. You then get increased defense and increased speed. 3 very good buffs. She will do a single person revive, 55% HP, full turn meter, which means if Sifi revives someone, they basically are taking a turn. Full turn meter, they're taking a turn. Cardinal does the same thing. If Cardinal revives the whole team, then the whole team go next. That's full turn meter. Also places increased attack, increased crit rate buff on that ally for 2 turns. Depending on your team and where you use her, the person that will die first is your nuker, because they're going to have more attack stats than sustain stats. So if she revives him, it could be Rotos, it could be anybody, it could be Foley, it could be, hell, Suzerain Katon. They get revived, they get to go next. They also get their attack buffed and their crit rate buffed, which makes them really, really deadly. The passive is heals everybody 10% of their max HP at the start of their turn. Has a 40% chance, goes to 50, and removing freeze and fear debuffs from each ally at the turn. And if it's Rotos, she just removes all debuffs. Doesn't matter what they are, just removes all debuffs from Rotos or Lost Groom at the start of their turn if they are on the same team. So you absolutely want Sifi, Rotos on the same team. Sifi, come home. Come on, just come home. Yes, Solus is my number 1 still wanted void, because he's badass. I will still take a Sifi. Nice resist aura in all battles. Raises it by 80. Necrit, man, this dude's got so much going on. Triple hit, decrease attack. For 1 turn, you cannot resist it. Does a lot of damage. Ally attack. Gets an extra turn if no enemies are killed during this. Has block, debuffs, ally protection, and a strengthen. The ally protection cannot be removed. So this is a ridiculous amount of protection. You can put a level 1 uncommon or common champion in with Necret, and with Disturbing Infusion you will keep that champion alive. And Sleeping Ages, whenever an ally is attacked while under ally protection buff, placed by this champion. Places a shield with on that ally equal to 30% of the damage. Equal to 30% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. Only if they don't have a shield on them. It decreases the cooldown of Legion of the Damned skills by 2 turns if the shield buff is placed. He's got just so much protection. Again, he just places debuffs and shit. All resist all buttons for 60. There's so much going on with the crit and what he does. I physically need a whole video to talk about it. There's so much going on. He can protect pretty much anybody. He is in most arena defenses. Hell, teams, offense teams as well. Uros pretty much has a shield equal to 10% of his HP. The more poisons on him, on the target, will increase the size of the shield, which is interesting. AoE, 75% chance goes to 100, decreased turn rate by 15%. If enemies under 1 or more poison, also 100% chance of placing decreased speed debuff for 2 turns on enemies under 2 or more poisons. So his turn rate decrease on his decreased speed, and chance of placing a stun for 1 turn on enemies under 3 or more poisons. So that's interesting. The more poisons that are on them, it's a situational move to be fair though. That's an interesting one. There's a strengthen buff though, which is, doesn't matter who you are, strengthen is so strong, ridiculously strong. If you have a champion with strengthen, put them in your team just for that strengthen. The fact that he actually does ally protection with it as well is insane. That's why you will see Uros being built really slow. Might be in a shield set with 150k HP, and he'll just protect anybody. Really good. Can solo Scarab. Good in Doom Tower. I probably could have been closer to this champion, but Doom Tower I've just been kind of bored with it. Haven't really been pushing. Increases resist in all battles by 80. And Call of the Cage, it's just to do with poison. It's a lot to read, we don't really have time for it. But he's a pretty good champion. A few of my clanmates have him. Little Miss Annie, God, could she have any more moves? So, heal reduction on the A1, yeah, we're not interested in that. Puts increased attack on herself for 2 turns before attacking. If the target is under a shield buff, will ignore 20% defense if the target is under a shield buff. That's interesting if you know you're taking on somebody that has shields, and depending on the content that you do, you maybe will. Places the perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns if this kills an enemy, which is also pretty good. Forces this champion's turn by 30% if this attack it does not kill. So if it doesn't kill someone, just speed yourself up so she can basically get another go at it. Playdate, I've seen people test this move out, and it hits so goddamn hard. I cannot even begin to describe. Single enemy attack ignores 25% of their defense if the target has higher defense than her, which they will, because you're going to build her to just do damage with attack. Decreases the target's max HP by 25% of the damage inflicted if the target has higher max HP, and they will, because you're going to build her for damage. Will repeat attack a second time if the target has both higher defense and HP than this champion, and they will, because you're going to build Little Miss Annie to nuke their asses. When she's revived, she attacks the enemy that killed her with the default skill, which hits really hard. Also fills her turn by 25%, gives her a shield equal to 50% of their max HP for 2 turns. Magical Heart, each hit has a 50% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter 5% and a 100% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 5% of the damage inflicted by attacking enemies under heal reduction debuffs. Interesting, but heal reduction is just not fantastic whatsoever. Ally attack in all battles 33%, very strong. Vlad, some people are quite disappointed with him. His chest animation is quite cool. So, I mean, I never went for him, to be fair. I skipped it out, but I do skip fusions now and again. It really depends on the resources available and all that kind of thing. So, it decreases target's max HP by 30% of the damage he inflicts. Also heals his champion by 30% of that damage inflicted. AoE leech for 2 turns, which could be cool. Depending on the faction, he will decrease turn meter instead of stealing 50% of the turn meter. There's a 75% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 50% instead against targets not from those factions. Very, very interesting type of moveset. Attacks one enemy twice. First hit has a chance of placing decreased defense. The second hit, when you book it, is 100%. Block active skills for 2 turns. If both debuffs are placed, places a perfect veil on him for 2 turns. A bit situational, and there's other champions that can do that a lot better. I can see why people are disappointed with this champion actually. Places a revival and death buff on this champion for 2 turns. When they kill someone, also fully heals this champion if it was their turn meter. When they kill someone, increases crit rate in arena battles by 30. That's probably a really good thing. If you see him in the arena, which you probably won't, midish kind of players maybe, just so you can relax your crit rate. But again, there's other champions that do that. So Vlad is a little bit underwhelming. I don't have him, but he is still underwhelming. Nonetheless, people, one of my favourite factions, bar none, is the Undead Hordes. That's pretty much all the legendaries. They're all pretty good. Crypt King, good. Rotos, Saito, Damage Dealers, pretty good. Gaius, the Specialist, Scartorsus, OG, same as Bardell and Bloodgorge. Mashald was really kind of crap. But then he became really, really good with his True Fears, and did we cover him? Not sure we did, so quickly. Chance to place Leech. Heals his champion by 30% of the damage inflicted. Will then attack enemies under Leech. Increase speed, increase crit damage on all allies for 2 turns. There's a True Fear under Leech debuff on enemies for 2 turns, which lands. If I see Michelle in the arena, that's the reason I may not attack them, unless I know I'm faster. Or I'm willing to risk it. When 100% chance when booked of stealing all buffs from the target before he attacks. He'll then put a pure reduction on them, continuous heal buffs on himself, and he increases the damage against targets that have no buffs because he's going to steal your buffs. So Michelle is a damage dealer, an ass kicker, went from 0 to hero, Nethro, CC, top tier, Suzerain, underused, Harvest Jack, pretty good, Sifi, Necret, Uros, Lotmasani, just rightfully so. Void champions, and Vlad, underwhelming. So that pretty much covers it. That is the legendaries from the Undead Hordes, who it is one of my favourite factions. It always will be. There's just so many great champions. Cannot wait to carry on looking through epics and rares, guys. So stay safe, keep on raiding, and I'll see you next time.